Do you think cowboys walked into saloons just for a whiskey? Think again. What if I told you that the most legendary, high-stakes gambling dens in the Old West were also serving up deep-fried bull testicles and soups made of every internal organ imaginable? From the heart of a steer to the brain of a calf, these Wild West watering holes served the strangest, richest, and most shocking meals on the American frontier. These aren't campfire myths. They're the real, high-stakes survival dishes served to real gunslingers across the West. Let's dig into 25 cowboy recipes you never knew were actually on the menu at Wild West Saloons. Number 1. Son of a Gun Stew, the Mystery Bowl. It sounded like a joke until you saw what was actually in it. Son of a Gun Stew was the ultimate don't ask, just eat dish, genuinely served in saloons from Dodge City to Abilene. This wasn't waste, it was necessity. This stew combined organ meats like tripe, heart, liver, marrow gut, sweetbreads, and even the brain, all simmered in a thick, peppery broth. What made it a saloon staple? It was hearty, high-calorie, and cheap. A hot bowl of son of a gun stew meant survival, even if it came with a side of mystery meat. Number 2. Sourdough flapjacks, the survival carbs. Before protein bars, cowboys had flapjacks, big, pan-fried pancakes made from wild-cultured sourdough starter that some carried in tins tied to their saddlebags. They weren't dainty breakfast cakes, they were survival carbs, dense, chewy, and filling, often served with molasses or pork drippings. Some called them sinkers because they hit your stomach like a rock, but they stuck with you, which was exactly the point. Number 3. Fried salt pork and beans, the foundation. No dish says Wild West like a plate of beans, but this was the foundation of frontier life. Salt pork, a fatty preserved cut cured in heavy salt brine, was shelf-stable and could survive for harsh months. Saloons would slice it thick, fry it crisp in its own fat, then spoon it over pinto or navy beans. Add a hunk of day-old sourdough or cornbread, and you had a meal that could keep a cowboy riding from dawn to dusk. Number 4. Chuck Wagon Coffee, liquid tar. Some called it six-shooter broom, others called it liquid tar. Brewed strong enough to float a horseshoe, Chuck Wagon coffee was made in battered tin pots using coarse grounds thrown directly into boiling water. To settle the grounds, trail cooks added eggshells, crushed beans, or even a piece of rawhide. Saloons kept a black pot on the stove all day, and a steaming tin cup doubled as a conversation starter and a hangover cure. Number 5. Prairie Oysters, Rocky Mountain oysters, the ultimate test. Let's not mince words. They are deep-fried bull testicles served hot and crispy right after the chaos of cattle roundups. This was a direct result of ranching necessity. The organs were cleaned, sliced, battered in flour and spices, and dropped into hot tallow. It was a rite of passage in places like Wyoming, Texas, and Colorado. You didn't eat prairie oysters to be fancy. You ate them to show you were tough, local, and proud. In cattle towns, refusing a plate was a good way to get laughed out of the bar, proving this dish was less about flavor and more about frontier grit. Number 6. Rabbit stew, the alternative. If beef was too expensive or scarce, cowboys turned to what they could hunt, rabbit. Rabbit stew is cooked with whatever was available, potatoes, onions, and wild oats. The result was a hearty, warming dish, sometimes seasoned with chilies and cumin in the Southwest. It wasn't a dish for gamblers. It was for cowhands tired of hardtack and beans, ready for something that tasted like home they hadn't seen in years. Number 8. Squirrel fricassee, from tree to table. Yes, squirrel. Cheap, abundant, and surprisingly flavorful, squirrel became a saloon staple in wooded areas. The meat was lightly pan-fried, then simmered in a creamy, peppery gravy made from drippings and milk. Squirrel fricassee was a locals meal, proof that saloons weren't just whiskey halls, they were community kitchens. Number 8. Corn Dodger biscuits, grit and salt. Cowboys didn't always have yeast, but they had cornmeal, and that was enough. Corn Dodgers were dense, hand-formed biscuits fried, baked on rocks, or crisped in skillets. The texture was gritty, the flavor smoky, and they could last for days in a saddlebag. They were a reminder of home and hunger met with grit and grit alone. Number 9. Picked eggs, the fast food. You've seen the cloudy glass jars in movies. Picked eggs were a real-life cowboy snack for those too broke or too busy to order a full plate. Boiled eggs steeped in a brine of vinegar, salt, mustard seed, and sometimes beet juice for color. They were sour, salty, spicy protein bombs. Sold for a few cents, they were the Old West happy hour combo, paired perfectly with beer or whiskey. Hey, if you're finding the secret history of Wild West food as fascinating as we are, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. You don't want to miss our next video uncovering the shocking truths behind the American frontier. Now let's get back to the menu with a dish that could break your teeth. Number 10. Hardtack and gravy, the molar chipper. Hardtack, also known as the tooth breakers, was a survival biscuit baked until bone dry. Saloons would take chunks of this rock-hard cracker, soak them in water or broth, and cover them in hot pan gravy made from salt pork drippings. Once doused in gravy, it was warm, filling, and even a little comforting. This dish tells the whole story of cowboy cuisine. Make do, don't waste, and never underestimate the power of a good pan of grease. Number 11, buffalo roast, the status meal. In the early years, before cattle ranches, buffalo was king. Frontier saloons served buffalo roast meat as a premium dish. The meat was lean, dark, and deeply flavorful. The most prized cut? The hump roast, incredibly tender when cooked slowly. Buffalo roast was a status meal. Only the best saloons had it, and cowboys who could afford it ordered it to celebrate a big win. Number 12, biscuits and molasses, the sweet fuel. Simple, sticky, satisfying. For cowboys too tired to eat meat, this was a godsend. Biscuits were baked quickly and thick, dark molasses was poured on top like frontier syrup. It was frontier fuel, giving cowboys a dose of sugar and carbs. It tasted like home, especially for those raised in the South. Number 13, fried calf brains, the delicacy. You won't find this one on modern menus, but nothing was wasted in the Wild West. When a steer was butchered, the brains were cleaned, sliced, battered, and fried until crisp and golden. Here's the truly shocking part. In frontier towns with strong German, French, or Mexican influences, where awful dishes were culturally accepted, fried calf brains were seen as a premium delicacy. Served with eggs and toast, it was the frontier version of a luxurious breakfast. The texture, creamy inside, crunchy outside. This wasn't just survival food, it was smart cooking, showing that a little cultural knowledge could turn discarded organs into gold. Number 14, game jerky, venison, elk, or antelope. Jerky wasn't just trail food, it was saloon food too. Cured with salt, smoke, and sun, it was tough, chewy, and packed with flavor. It didn't spoil, didn't need heat, and paired perfectly with a shot of rye. Saloons served jerky plates, the original bar snack, long before pretzels or peanuts. Number 15, miner's pot pie, the comfort food. In mining towns, cooks needed something filling and affordable. Miner's pot pie was made with rough-cut beef, rabbit, or even squirrel, stewed with vegetables, then poured into a thick pan lined with pastry dough. When you sat down with a bubbling, gravy-filled pot pie and a pint of beer, the whole dusty, dangerous world outside could wait. Number 16, cornmeal mush with tallow drizzle, Pioneer polenta. This was a frontier staple for budget-conscious workers. Cornmeal cooked slow in water until thick, poured into a pan to cool, and then sliced and pan-fried. The savory version was drizzled with rendered beef tallow, sometimes mixed with salt and pepper. It was Pioneer polenta, made for survival. Number 17, wild turkey and dumplings, Sunday supper. When cattle was too expensive, saloons turned to wild turkey. Made from foraged birds, the tough meat was slow-boiled, shredded, and added back to a rich broth with rough drops of flour dough, or dumplings. Cowboys recalled it as the closest thing to Sunday supper back home. Number 18, dried apple pie, the sweet reminder. Fresh fruit was a luxury, but dried apples were gold. Soaked, rehydrated, and spiced with cinnamon and sugar, they made the filling for early saloon pies. They were dense, sturdy, and built to travel. One bite reminded cowboys of orchard seasons they hadn't seen in years. Number 19, fried corn cakes, the Johnny Cakes. The Frontier's flatbread made from cornmeal and boiling water, fried until the edges curled. They were plain and often served as the edible plate under stew or beans. They didn't crumble, didn't spoil, and could be made by the dozen. Number 20, cow tongue in brown gravy, seasoned luxury. Cow tongue was considered a premium cut, tender and perfect for long simmering. It was boiled for hours, sliced, seared, and smothered in a thick, dark gravy. It was comfort food for seasoned cowboys, gamblers, or town marshals with a bit more coin to spend. Number 21, pinto bean chili, without tomatoes, the bowl that bites back. Cowboys made chili the frontier way with pinto beans, dried chilies, and chunks of beef. Many early saloon versions didn't use tomatoes at all, focusing instead on heat from dried ancho or pasilla peppers. Some saloons advertised it as the bowl of red that bites back. Number 22, bread pudding with whiskey sauce, a taste of kindness. A clever dessert made from old biscuits or stale bread soaked in milk, sugar, and eggs. Some saloon cooks topped it with a warm sauce, usually whiskey mixed with sugar and butter. It was slow food, a dish that took thought, often served to travelers who just needed something that felt like kindness. Number 23, fried trout with cornmeal crust, refined frontier. In towns near rivers, saloons served fresh-caught trout dredged in seasoned cornmeal and fried. It was considered a more refined offering for guests from back east. For those who spent weeks eating jerky, it felt like high-class dining. Number 25, gooseberry cobbler. Untamed land. Gooseberries grew wild, and they were the secret to a truly Western cobbler. Tart, tangy, and perfect with the sweet biscuit topping. Gooseberry cobbler was a taste of the untamed land itself, baked into something tender and warm. So, were these 25 recipes really served at Wild West Saloons? Yes, every last one of them. Saloons weren't just whiskey joints. They were the first diners, the original truck stops. Some of these dishes were strange, some were simple, and some you probably wish you'd tried sooner. If this video made you hungry for the Wild West, hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell. And tell us in the comments right now, which shocking dish would you try? And which one would you never touch with a 10-foot pole? Now saddle up, timekeepers, and click here, because our next video will bring back even more memories of the past.